Oh, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our 7-day seminar today. We're very excited to have all of you, and we're also very excited to welcome back Alyssa Chaneski from the Community Food Bank of New Jersey. She's going to be leading us today. I feel like we learned a lot the last time we were here, and I'm excited to learn more. So without further ado, I'll let Alyssa start us off. Michelle, and thank you everyone for coming back. I'm very excited to be back. It was fun last time, and we're going to be doing the same idea, do a little lesson, and then we're going to have the recipe video, and then we'll have a little chair exercise as well for the end. So I'm also really excited about all the healthy food that I see out here. It's really cool. And it's okay that you have cake too, because you got to balance that. You got to balance it out. And so we mentioned last time that we we're going to be talking about nutrition facts labels. It came out as a PDF, so Michelle's going to be kindly scrolling for me rather than clicking, but just so you know, that's why it's going through like that. So we have nutrition facts labels, and we're talking about why they're useful, how you can read them, and all the different parts of them. So, and just like last time, you might have seen this justice for all statement, so you'll see this for all of our lessons. It just says that we're an equal opportunity organization. We don't have to discriminate on any part of your identity. And welcome. So as was mentioned, my name is Alyssa Chaneski. I'm a nutrition educator at Community Food Bank of New Jersey. And I specifically just do lessons on teaching people how to eat healthy and how to be physically active, and also do that in a way that's easy for you. So hopefully we'll give you some good tips today. Today we're having our Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables program, and they help you to increase your fruit and vegetable consumption. And today, as we're talking about nutrition facts labels, here's a little breakdown of what we're going to be doing. So we're going to talk about all the sections of the nutrition facts label that might be a little bit confusing to you. We're going to have a little practice activity for reading the nutrition facts label and the different parts that we talked about. We're going to have a recipe video, our physical activity video. Feel free to ask me questions throughout and stop me. I'm very happy to answer anything that you might have. And then at the end, there's an optional anonymous survey. You don't have to do it if you don't want to. It's just optional. I'll email that to Michelle after, so that if she wants to send it to everybody, you guys can take it if you want to. So to get started, we always have a little icebreaker question. And my question is, imagine that you're at the pantry or the grocery store and you're picking out what you want to buy. What is it that causes you to buy something? What do you look at first, or what's the most important to you? So that might be, for example, the brand, it might be the price, the way that it's labeled, the ingredients, or maybe the nutrition facts label. So does anybody have anything you tend to look at? Nice, good. Do you look for anything in particular? Good, okay, nice, okay.
Which they put about 50 times more than.
Yeah, they do. They really do. Anybody else? Does anyone look for anything else? Trans fats, gotcha. Yeah. And trans fats and the saturated fats, those are the two types of saturated fats that you're going to want to try to keep an eye out for, because they're the ones that are not so well managed in your gut. So that's actually a good one to look at. And we're going to talk specifically about fats today. So good point.
The number of ingredients that make up the item.
Yeah, that's a great one, because nowadays you see a lot of processed foods. There's a lot of ingredients you can't even read, right? So the number, as the number goes up, typically the amount that you can read goes down. So that's why it is good to see sometimes when ingredients are just, 4 or 5 ingredients and things that you actually know and understand and you've seen before. That's a pretty good sign. And then sometimes there's ingredients that are like preservatives, but they don't tend to put too many of them. So definitely the number can tell you a lot about the product that you're eating. Nice.
Also, when they list the ingredients,
Yes, yeah, good point. So the ingredients are actually listed in order of weight. So whichever one weighs the most is the first ingredient, and whichever one weighs the least is going to be the last ingredient, and it goes in descending order. So that's why, for example, we can talk about whole grains. I might have mentioned this in our last session, but when you're looking for a whole grain, like a whole grain bread, you want to look to see that the first ingredient says the word whole. So you might say like whole wheat flour or whole grain oats, or it might say like barley, millet. Those are all types of whole grains. You want that to be the first ingredient, because if it's not, then you're going to not have a whole grain because it's not taking up most of it. You want that whole wheat flour to be the heaviest ingredient in your product. So good point. Nice. Anything else?
Curiosity question. When we look at labels, it's in it, and the first ingredient is supposed to be what it represents. But say, for example, like when we buy things like soy sauce, there is no soy sauce in it. The first thing is like water and sugar and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So would that be classified as like false advertising?
That's interesting. I've never actually looked at like a soy sauce ingredients and seen like where soy sauce would be. Is it not on the list at all?
Well, the ones that you get from like the Chinese restaurants
Yeah.
doesn't say anything about soy. The ones,
Interesting. Interesting. Okay. I have actually never even recognized that or noticed that. I would think it's actually not, well, okay, so they're calling it soy sauce, and I guess they're just putting the ingredients in, but they have to put in exactly what they put in there. So at least they're listing those ingredients so you know exactly what it is that you're putting in your body. But it can be confusing because I think they can really call, like, you can serve me a hamburger and say, this is, a grilled cheese, and then no one can tell you that you didn't just name it something different, So I think that the name probably doesn't make a big difference as long as they're listing the facts and listing the ingredients as they put it in there, then you're getting, what they listed there. That's more of the like liability that they have to put behind it. But definitely that can be super confusing. I never heard that one before, so I'd have to look into that too.
Were you asking why the liquid things are?
no, I was just curious as to why, if it doesn't have, if it says soy sauce, why there's nothing that
No,
says
that
soy
I
in it.
got. I
Yeah.
just didn't know if you were also asking about why the first things were.
No, not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah.
I know if you buy mint jelly, it's usually not mint jelly, it's apple jelly.
Really?
And then all the way down at the end, they get a little mint.
There you go.
Get a whole ladder that says pure mint.
Yeah, see, those are why labels can be so deceiving. I mean, it's like when you get a multi-grain bread and you think that it's a whole grain, a lot of times you're not actually getting a whole grain. You're really just getting a grain that was deprived of its nutrients and then maybe colored to be a little bit like different colored, have some seeds on top, and you think you're getting a whole grain, but a lot of times you're not actually getting one. So that's why it's really important to take a look at the ingredients and take a look at the nutrition facts, because they can tell you a whole lot about what you're eating. Yeah. You guys are bringing up some great points. We're going to talk about a lot of this during this lesson, so thank you. So when it comes to the nutrition facts label, there's been a lot of things that have been put on there, a lot of things that have been changed throughout the years. So it can be really useful to learn how to read them, as we've already talked about. The label was designed to in 2016, the label was actually changed to have slightly larger font for calories and serving size, so you can see it a little bit better. There was also added sugars added under carbohydrates, so that you know how many of these sugars are not from nature, or they're more coming from people adding them into your food. There was also a change in the vitamins at the bottom. So instead of adding the vitamins that people have enough of, and we usually get in abundance, they put new vitamins that people didn't tend to have enough of in their diets. So they added vitamin C and potassium because that people weren't getting enough of, and they took out vitamin A. We'll talk more about these later as well. And in January of 2021, all manufacturers had to be switched to this new label. So that's why sometimes you might still see the old label in your home or still being sold on the shelves if it's a really shelf stable product, but you shouldn't see any new products with the old label because now they're mandated to create this new version. And now,
When you said they took out the vitamin A and vitamin C, it's still in the product, they just don't list.
yes, exactly. So they wanted
I
to
looked
list.
at it and think, oh, it has no vitamin C.
No, yeah. They still have vitamin C, but people tend to get enough vitamin C, so that's why they took it out and then they added in, for example, vitamin D. During the pandemic, people aren't going outside as much, so they're not getting as much sun. So you're gonna have a little bit less vitamin D in your system, and they want people to understand this product has more vitamin D, so I should probably have a little bit more of that if I can to give myself a little bit extra. But yeah, they still have the vitamin D, it's just that they're not listing how much it's in it. Okay, and so first up we have serving size. So the first thing that we see on the label is serving size, right? And like I mentioned, the serving size, the font has gotten larger, and also interesting, over the years, the serving size has gotten larger. And the reason for this is that in the US, we typically eat more than the serving size, and we have been doing it for years. So what they've done in recent years is they made the serving size larger to reflect exactly how much we are actually eating. So if people are actually eating, 2/3 a cup of ice cream rather than half a cup, they're actually putting 2/3 a cup on the label. So that way you know exactly how much fat is in that ice cream, how much sugar is in that ice cream, and you're not eating that 2/3 a cup and accounting only for half a cup of sugar and half a cup of fat and calories.
1 and 2, 3.
Oh, yeah, for the car, yeah, I know, yeah, like people are, yeah, we're definitely eating more than that too, so, yeah, that was just my example, but I'm in the same boat, so.
So
I know.
I always thought that the serving size was the recommended
Yeah,
amount. So if they're increasing the serving size to reflect what we're eating,
mhm.
is that still recommended or?
So, yeah, so that's a good question. So they're reflecting it to, they still want us to have a certain serving size, like serving of each different food group each day. And so that has stayed the same. However, the amount that's on the label is just telling you how much of that you're getting, if that makes sense. So for example, if you see on that worksheet, there's a percent daily value, it's still gonna go off of a 2,000 calorie diet. And this hasn't changed from the years. So they're recommending that you get this much, but I think it's more to be proactive instead of telling people just so you know you're getting more than you used to be from that recommended serving. So it's kind of like they're telling you how much you're eating, but you're probably gonna be getting less of that serving from something else during the day, if that makes sense. So when you are looking at that label, it always goes off of a 2,000 calorie diet. So that's really gonna be for the average American. Obviously, that's gonna be different depending on the person. So if you ever wanna know your calorie amount, that you could ask your doctor. They can do like a calculation for you and tell you, the recommendation for you is 1,800 versus the recommendation for the person next to you is 2,300. So that serving size is really gonna be arbitrary no matter who it is. Because my serving, for example, to my little brother, he probably is gonna have less than me. And the serving size says the same thing for everyone. So that's why it's really a arbitrary number, but the good thing about the nutrition facts label is that you're getting a number of exactly what you're getting. But I see where your confusion is at, for sure. But if you are trying, I know I'm like saying so many words now, it's confusing, but if you are trying to figure out exactly how much of your percent daily value that's gonna give you, then that'll tell you that on the right side of the nutrition facts label, and it'll tell you just how much that one serving is giving you for a 2,000 calorie diet. But again, depending on the person, that's gonna be so different compared to who eats what and how big that person is or how much activity that person does, and if they're person A or person B. I don't know, that was a really roundabout way of answering your question, but really good question though. But I'll give you the generalized servings for each. So we talked about the food groups last time, and there's a average serving for each of these 5 food groups. So this is going to be for the average person, but again, it depends on the person, how much you should get in each day. So you'd want to ask your doctor, maybe if you have a problem with blood sugar, you want to eat a little bit less fruit, or if you have a problem with like a certain type of cholesterol issue, you might want to eat less meat. So that depends on you. But the general serving recommendation for people, the average adult is going to be about 2 cups of fruit a day, 3 cups of vegetables, 5 to 8 ounces of grains. And an example of an ounce of grains would be like 1 slice of bread, 1 cup of cereal, or half a cup of cooked rice, 3 cups of dairy, and then 5 to 6.5 ounces of protein. And 1 ounce of protein would be about 1 ounce of meat, 1/4 cup of beans, 1 egg, 1 tablespoon of peanut butter, or half an ounce of nuts and seeds. So that's kind of like a generalization of the recommendation for the day. And whatever you're getting from, that one product, you can kind of subtract that from your daily recommendation. That makes sense. Yeah, a lot of info on that one. Serving size can be confusing because it's so generalized and an average on the serving somewhere. If anyone has questions, please let me know, because I will out there.
One of the tricky things about serving size is when you buy something, it's a small pack. You would think that pack is the serving size
Yeah.
until you read it.
Yes.
I had an episode once many decades ago, and I was eating ham steaks, and I didn't realize, and it said serving size was something like 1,200 milligrams of sodium. I didn't realize that one little ham steak was 2 servings, so I was eating the whole thing
This
with
happens a lot.
cheese and eggs and.
Yeah, no, this happens a lot. Yeah. And it's not just you. Definitely, it's hard sometimes to figure out exactly how much to eat because, like I mentioned, people have been eating perpetually over the serving size. So that's why they really increased it. But still, when we get these packages, like sometimes you're eating it and you don't recognize that, you're getting 3.5 servings just by eating like 1 can of beans. Because that's about how much is in there. It seems so small, but there's typically about 3.5 servings in there. So definitely is something that you can pay attention to more if you ever take a look and see how many are in there. And for calories, so another part of the label that was enlarged and also they changed it slightly, same as serving size. Calories is just the amount of energy in an item of food or drink that it's going to give you. So however much energy you're getting from it, that's what it's telling you. A lot of times kids, I say to them, the calories, and they're like, oh, calories are bad. And I'm like, no, that's not what it is. Calories are really good. You need calories to survive. But calories, you want to get your calories from better sources. So getting your calories from fruits, vegetables, grains, proteins, and dairy is going to be a little bit better than getting your calories from cookies or cakes or, milkshakes and sugary drinks. So calories are really great. You just want to get them from a good diet. I know, yeah. But you can still get your calories from those things too, just in moderation. So, and when it comes to calories, you might know that when you're getting, you might notice on the sheet that I show you that the calories that you get on a nutrition facts label is for 1 serving. So if the nutrition facts label says that you're getting 170 calories in serving, if you eat those 2 servings of the food that you were talking about, the ham, correct? Then you're going to have to multiply that by 2 or add it 2 times, and you would be getting 340 calories instead of that 170 calories. So that's just kind of how you can calculate it if you are eating a little bit more. And if you are getting, 3 servings, you'd have to do that times 3. So next up we have fats. So we talked about this one a little bit. So when we're talking about fat is telling you the amount of fat within 1 serving again. And there are different kinds of fats that can be in products. So just like you mentioned, and you might have heard the term good fat or bad fat. And this is a little bit true because when you're getting things like trans or saturated fats in a product, those are going to be what are called saturated fats. Saturated fats are not as well broken down by your body. So those are the ones that you're going to want to avoid because they're the ones that, for example, you might know clog your arteries and will cause different kinds of heart disease. So you do want to keep those limited. If you can, you want to keep it less than 77 grams if you're eating a 2,000 calorie diet. So that would be just kind of like a general idea. Again, that's average though. So if you are at risk for any types of heart disease or you're at risk for any types of, issues with cholesterol, you're probably going to want to watch that number a lot more than somebody, like a child who really doesn't need to worry about those things at this time in their life. So definitely keep an eye on that if you want to talk to your doctor and see if that's something that you need to keep more of an eye on. So the fats that are good though are going to be things that are called polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. So basically any types of unsaturated fats, those ones are going to be more natural sources. So coming from avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, those ones are processed really well by your body and they're going to be broken down really well. The great thing about them also is they keep you full, feeling satiated, and they also help you to absorb nutrients, produce hormones. So they're actually really good for you. Either way though, you still want to, of course, keep it limited when you're eating fats. You don't have too many of any fat. So the recommendation is about 20 to 35% of your daily intake of calories comes from fats. So that would be like a range. And still that depends on you. So if you have any types of issues with fats, you can still keep that more limited, depending on what is recommended for you by your doctor. Any questions about fats?
Omega-3 fatty
Yes.
acids are form of fat.
Yes, those are going to be, well, those come in fats and come in unsaturated fats. Those are really good for you. You're going to get that from like fish, for example. And those are really great for you. Those are going to be the kinds that help you like absorb nutrients and produce hormones. So those are going to be from your healthy sources of fat, and they're really good for you. And that's why if people don't get enough of those unhealthy fats, they'll take like a supplement for it. Typically, that you'll see a lot of kinds of supplements that have omega-3s, but those are really good for you, definitely. Next up is added sugars, and I know that a lot of people tend to look at sugars sometimes on their nutrition facts. I know, for example, I specifically do for myself, but also because my dad has diabetes. So whenever I'm buying anything at the store, then I want to make sure that I'm buying stuff that he could have as well, or buying things that don't have too many added sugars. So added sugars are going to be really great to look at because there's two different kinds of sugars. One of them is going to be natural sugar, and the other one is going to be added sugar. So does anybody think they know what a natural sugar would come from? Fruits. Yeah, perfect. Fruits. Another one would be like honey. Really anything that's, coming from nature. You might have heard like agave, nectar. Those ones are going to be the ones that are going to be natural sugars. And they are better for you because they're going to be coming with other types of nutrients and vitamins and minerals that are naturally occurring in those foods. And specifically with fruits, you're going to get a lot of extra fiber if you're getting that whole fruit, because you're going to get the body of the fruit. So when you eat like a full fruit or a full vegetable, you're also getting the fiber along with it, which is really good because it helps you digest food, and it's going to help you again stay fuller for longer. And it's going to really help, go to the bathroom too, which is really good, and something that's good for our gut. So I always say, if you can, go for like a whole fruit over a fruit juice if possible. But if you are getting fruit juice, go for 100% fruit juice. If you see that on the label, it should say 100%. Well, when we're talking about added sugars, does anybody think they have an idea of that? Do you have a question?
No, but I was just gonna say, when you mentioned the sugar.
Mhm.
If you ever look at the Weight Watchers program, a real piece of sugar is like 0 point or 2 points.
Okay.
And a fruit juice is sugar. Fruit sugar.
Yeah.
Even if it's 100% juice, will be like 15. I mean, that's just
There you
way
go.
off, but
See?
it's a big, huge.
Yeah, yeah, and it's amazing because you are getting sugar from that fruit juice and whatever fruit drink you have. But the good thing is you're getting that from such a better source. You're getting it from your apple, or you're getting it from whatever you're juicing, the pineapple, peach. And with that, you are going to get those nutrients that are coming along with it, and they're going to be better for your body. So definitely, that's a good point. Really good point. Nice. And so then as opposed to that, so when you are getting those 0 point things on Weight Watchers, what types of sugars do you think would be considered added sugars in your foods?
Those corn
Mhm,
syrups and stuff
exactly.
like that.
Exactly, yeah. So you're gonna see these you'll probably see these ones in your ingredients. So a lot of us are looking at our ingredients. You might see high fructose corn syrup. You might see like sucrose, fructose. There's a lot of interesting names for them. There's so many names for sugar that you might not even know. I didn't even know some of them. I probably don't know a lot of them because they're just so intricate. And you might see them on your label, but when it comes to added sugars, the ones you most commonly see will be sugar, white cane sugar. There'll also be the high fructose corn syrup and things like that, and fructose. And those are going to be the ones that we want to try to avoid because, as I explain it to kids when I'm teaching them, natural sugars are going to be coming from nature. Added sugars, think about somebody in a factory pouring sugar into your drink, right? They're putting it in for you. So that's not going to be the best source. They're just putting basically white sugar into your drink. So those are the ones you want to try to keep limited. And the recommendation is going to be about 10% or less of your daily calories to come from added sugars. So that would be for a 2,000 calorie diet. 200 calories would be coming from added sugars. But a really great way to figure out, you know, what percentage you are having is if you see on, it could be on your worksheet, you can also see it up here. The added sugars have that percent daily value on the side. So for example, for this product that's up on the screen, you're getting 8 grams of added sugars and you're getting 16% of your percent daily value. So by getting 8 grams of sugar here, you're getting 16% of the amount of sugar that would be recommended for you in a day. So that would be, you know, like a not too bad of an amount, but you know, you're getting almost 20%. So kind of a little bit high. So it depends on how much you're trying to look at it and how much is recommended for you. But that would just be a good way if you want to add it up for an average, you can kind of add up those percentages throughout the day and see how much you're getting.
They put the total sugars in grams.
Yes.
How do you convert that to, because if I'm looking at this recipe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. a cup of sugar.
Yes. So that always depends. If you look up conversions online, you can kind of do like the conversions. And I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly offhand how much like teaspoons or tablespoons would be in about half a cup. If I ever have to do that, I typically look it up really quickly. We do have like one lesson where they talk about it a little bit, but I'm not sure about teaspoons or
No, I'm just saying,
tablespoons.
for half a cup of sugar, we could put one.
Yeah, then you'd have to like
Not much.
divide that. Yeah, no, not much at all. Yeah. Yeah, I would actually have to look into it. Yeah. Mhm. Yeah, and maybe, you know, you could even try like some other kinds of natural sugars. So if you try anything like, you know, like honey or whatever, you could try them in the muffins and see if you can do like a natural form. And even I would recommend brown sugar is a little bit more natural than white sugar as well. So if you were to try maybe switching it up like that, you get a little bit more minerals. It's still sugar though. So another thing I like to say is similar to fat, sugar is sugar. So especially if you have any issues with diabetes, prediabetes, or any type of blood sugar, you know, fluctuations, you're going to want to be careful about just how much sugar you have in your diet, just because it can really affect you if you have natural sugar or if you have added sugar. So if you are one of those people that really needs to keep an eye on it, even with fruits, for example, I know like my dad can't have a ton of fruits because he's a diabetic, so it'll make his blood sugar go up. And even though it's coming with really great things, you just have to keep an eye on it. So all sugar is going to function as sugar in your body. But when we're getting those natural sugars, you're just getting more nutrients and vitamins along with it. So that's why they're a little bit better. Any questions? Yeah.
So, when I cook, I bake sometimes, and I've been trying to switch out more brown sugar than the regular white sugar. But then I realized that the brown sugar is just basically a combination of sugar with molasses, as
Yeah.
opposed to just plain sugar. And
Yeah.
so, is there any health benefits one over the other?
You know, it might depend. I'm guessing on like the brand that you get, what they put in it. That's a good point. Again, look at those ingredients, because if you're just getting white sugar and molasses, then you're just getting 2 kinds of added sugar really, and molasses is not so great for you either. So I think you probably have to more look at the ingredients list and see if there's any other kinds that might have like a different makeup, because that doesn't sound like the best choice. Yeah. And it's good that you're making that effort, but then sometimes it can be discouraging because you look at that and you're like, wait, am I actually making a healthy choice? So good point. I would say if you ever run into that issue, see if you can take a look at that nutrition and look at the ingredients and see if you can find different ones and compare. Maybe I'll have to look into if I can find a brand that would be better and like which brands are not as have ingredients like that, because I didn't think about them.
And one more thing, raw sugar. Where does that fit into this conversation?
So raw sugar, again, it's going to be similar to all kinds where it's going to function the same way. I think that the processing of the sugar is just, they do less processing. And that's kind of why they're saying raw, is that they're not really putting it through much processing to get to you. I would say that with all of these types of sugars, even like brown, white, raw, they're all going to function the same way in your body. I believe raw sugar has a little bit more of like nutrients in it where they're not taking them out, but still it's going to be very similar to your white sugar. But yeah, they're all very similar is what I would say. When it comes to sugars, sugar is sugar is like my common saying. So it's going to function very overall the same way in your body, and it's going to process it the same way because your body doesn't know, you know, molasses from brown sugar or white sugar from honey. It's just going to know it has sugar in your body, and it's going to spike your insulin up a little bit more and bring your blood sugar down, so long as you don't have diabetes or any issue like that. So yeah, it just depends about like how much of minerals you're getting. Minerals is like the difference typically, like raw sugar versus white sugar. Yeah. Good questions. Yeah. Okay, and we talked about this a couple of times, and I think that this is one of the things on the nutrition facts label that people tend to forget about or not really understand, and it's really, really useful. So the percent daily value tells you if you're getting a lot or a little bit of whatever it is that you're trying to look for on your nutrition facts label. And it reflects how much a nutrient is going to give you in a 2,000 calorie diet. So again, for that average person, the average adult, it's going to tell you what percent are you getting of that 2,000 calorie diet. So this might be different depending if your goals are different, like if you're trying to eat a little bit less or a little bit more in calories. So just keep that in mind. But what you can do when you're looking at the percent daily value, if a nutrient or any type of macronutrient that you're looking at on your label is 5% or lower, that's going to signify that you're not getting much of it. So it's kind of low in your daily value. If it's 20% or higher, that's going to be pretty high. So for example, I would say if you find something that's 20% or around 20% in fiber, that's pretty good because people don't typically get the recommended daily value of fiber. So if you're getting 20% or higher, you're getting a lot from that product. If you're getting 20% or higher of added sugars, you're getting a lot of added sugars on that. If you're getting 20% or higher of salt or sodium, then you're going to be getting a lot of sodium. So if you want to keep an eye on that for things specifically that you're worried about, then that's actually a really great thing to look at. And if you're trying to keep it low on sodium or keep it low on sugar, try to go for 5% or below or right around that area, because then you're going to know that you're getting a low amount of those added sugars or sodium or whatever it is that you're looking for. Any questions on that?
Percentage of the decrease in salt. Low sodium and sodium increase.
Oh, I'm actually sure. I guess it depends on the product. I would have to take a look. For some reason, I feel like when I recall looking at them, because well, let me look. I know I have a package of like these with me because I have the weirdest things. So I have all the weirdest things with me. But so this is, for example, for a brisket, a beef brisket.
Well, I thought you had the brisket.
No, I don't have the brisket, but so the sodium in this one, and I don't know if they even put low sodium. It looks like it's I don't even say low sodium, which is good because it's actually only at 4% sodium, so 100 milligrams, which would be low. And it doesn't even say low sodium on here, so that can kind of tell you it really depends on the product and probably the manufacturer and how much they want to put in there. Sometimes people put salt as preservatives, maybe they'll put a little bit more. But this one, it doesn't say anything about low sodium and it's pretty low in itself. So I'd say it really depends on the product and what you're grabbing at. You really want to check, and it would be kind of individual to each. Yeah, because I wouldn't be able to tell you exact number. But if you want to get this one, it's certified Angus beef, custom blend chicken chuck brisket. So yeah, I have lots of random food bags in my bag. So any other questions on that one?
Well, I'm sure there's a big difference between the processed meats versus
Yes.
natural meats.
Yeah. So when it's processed, that's when they're going to be putting in sodium to preserve it so that you can have it in, the store for longer or go through processing and travel longer. So typically, for example, maybe if like a farmer is actually selling you what they're making on their farm, they're not going to put too much to preserve it because they're, right farm to house, farm to table. They don't have to do much to keep it, preserved for a long time. So those are probably going to be the ones you're going to get a little bit less sodium in typically. Another. And then, so additional nutrients that you might find on your nutrition facts label, these are just a couple that we didn't go over, or we did go over a couple of. So cholesterol is a fat-like substance that your body can produce on its own. So that means it's not necessary for you to consume it. So there's going to be cholesterol in foods like animal foods, so fatty meats, or it might come in like certain types of dairy, or butter, for example, margarine are going to be the ones that you're going to get cholesterol. The recommendation is no more than 300 milligrams if you don't have any risk of heart disease, but if you have a risk of heart disease, no more than 200 milligrams in a day. So that would just be checking the label to see how many are on there. And this is associated with heart disease, so that's why you want to be careful of how much you have if you have any risk of that cholesterol.
Oh, right.
Mhm. And then next up, we have sodium. Sodium is just another word for salt. And when it comes to sodium, that's associated with high blood pressure. So if you have any issue with that, you want to really keep an eye on your salt intake. The recommendation for this, we actually talked about this one last time, is 2,300 milligrams per day, which is actually just about 1 teaspoon of salt, which we probably typically get a little more than that. So especially if you're ever worried about blood pressure, kind of keep an eye on that one, see what percentage you are getting on your nutrition fact label. Next up is fiber. So one of my favorites, I think very underrated nutrient that you can get. And the recommended daily intake for fiber is about 25 grams per day. And we don't typically reach that. So it's really great to kind of keep an eye. Where the ways that you can get more fiber would be to eat more vegetables, fruits, and whole grains. They're going to give you a lot more fiber. Really great things about fiber is it keeps you full. It's good for your heart health and helps control your blood sugar as well. Yeah.
Beans.
Yes. Beans are super, super great. So we have like a whole lesson on beans just because they're so great. And we have a whole lesson on fiber, and that's how I can tell you how great they are. But beans are amazing because they are the only food that's a vegetable and a protein. They have no fat or any cholesterol naturally, and they're gonna have high protein, low fat. So it's really, really great. The only thing if you're getting beans to keep an eye on is if you're getting canned beans, try to get low or no sodium versions because they sometimes will add a lot of sodium to preserve it. So but the great thing is you can avoid that because you can get the low or no sodium can, or if you can't find that, you can just rinse it out with some water. And it'll get rid of some of the sodium, not all of it, but it'll definitely help out.
Better yet, just to get the dry beans.
You can also get dried beans. So yeah, definitely. And when it comes to dried beans, it definitely takes prep, but you know, it can be very rewarding to make your own. You just have to soak them earlier. So it kind of takes some planning. And making sure that you take any rocks or pebbles or dried bits out of there. So you don't want to eat those. But definitely, they're definitely great. You know, just get them the dry beans and they cook a little bit longer, but they can come out really great. So good point. I'm happy you brought up beans because they're a really, really awesome source of fiber. Thank you.
But there might be a lot of fiber in that pebble.
Yeah, that's another one. I'm sure it'll go right through your system. So yeah, it's like all the fiber you can get. You cannot digest it at all. Definitely.
Well, I'm feeling a little down now because I love a nice good can of pork and beans.
Yeah.
It's full of sodium and
Yeah.
sugar. and-
Yeah.
And then you throw a couple of hot dogs in it and.
I know it's sad.
That's almost as gross as your ham steak.
Oh, I'll hook you up.
I'll hook you up with that, okay. You know, you can make it on your own though. You can try to make your own, you know, non-canned version. So you know, get the low sodium beans, get yourself some ham and put them together. Maybe you'll make something really good. So
Or have one like twice
yeah,
a year, you know?
once a year.
Christmas dinner.
No, I think you could figure out a way to get it in and not have you know, not have it all the time. We have it once in a while.
Okay.
But then another really good thing about fiber before I finish on fiber that I really like, and I talk because we do a diabetes program and I talk to all my diabetes clients about this, that when you have fiber with any types of sugar, it also really helps to control your blood sugar. And that's the same thing with protein is really good to pair with sugar because they both slow the fiber from going into your bloodstream really quickly. So if you ever have any spikes in blood sugar, the fiber will actually slow it down from entering the bloodstream. And I kind of say that it's like as if your blood sugar is running, it's like a cartoon running, right? And fiber grabs its shirt and it's making it go really slow, right? Like in a cartoon when they run, but they're going so slow and they're like in one spot. That's what I like to say is fiber's kind of holding it back from going too quickly. And then that way, instead of your blood sugar going straight up, it's going more of like a slope, and then you have more time for your insulin to bring it back down with it. So it's definitely good to pair it with some sugar if you're having sugar. And that's why people with diabetes at least helps a little bit because their insulin's not going to actually affect the blood sugar. So as their medicine's working, we will slow down the fiber I'm gonna try to roll slow down the butcher from going too quickly. And then, of course, so we talked about this last time, and we love to use all these parts of nutrition facts to have a healthier meal. But something else that we can really do is utilize our My Plate. And so if you weren't here last time, the My Plate used to be the food pyramid, but it got changed to a plate because we eat off of a plate. So it has all these different food groups. We have fruits, vegetables, grains, protein, and dairy. And this is just going to give you an idea of about how much of your plate you want each of them to fill up. And the great thing about the My Plate is it's telling you half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So we're trying to get lots of color from our fruits and veggies. You're also going to get a lot of fiber, nutrients, minerals, vitamins from those fruits and veggies. When we're getting our grains, trying to get at least half of our grains as whole grains. So like I mentioned, you can look for whole grain or whole wheat flour or whole grain oats as the first ingredient, and also go for things like brown rice or whole grain pasta or whole grain bread or oats, barley, and whole grains like that and rye are naturally whole grains. Proteins, you're going to want to try to go for lean proteins whenever possible. So that would be like turkey or chicken if you eat meat. You can also have some fish. You can also have plant sources, so whether it comes from nuts or seeds. There's lots of good options. And then dairy, also going for low or non-fat dairy whenever you can, if you like it, hopefully. Sometimes people don't like non-fat or low-fat dairy, so you can even mix like a full-fat version, half and half, with a lower fat version, so then that way you're lessening the fat a little bit, but it's not getting too much flavor away. So those are some quick tips. This is just another way to build a healthier plate that's more of a visual, and it can go hand in hand with your nutrition facts label to create a little bit more nutrients and color and vibrance. Any questions about My Plate if you weren't here or if you have from last time?
Where, I'm sure somebody asked this question, but where's the dessert?
I think we did. Yes, that question last time, right? Like, and that's a great question. So dessert's gonna fit in, and it's kind of interesting because dairy, a serving of dairy could be ice cream, and that's totally fine. You're getting your dairy from it. But I would say, that's not your serving of dairy for all 3 cups in the day, right? So maybe, yeah, so maybe you get some yogurt in the morning and you get some milk with your cereal. But then, at the end of the day, you need a little bit of a fun food. So go for the ice cream, and that's totally fine, but in moderation. So, doing it just, at the end of the day, or maybe a couple times a week, and really focusing on your whole foods whenever possible. But, once in a while, we all need a little treat, so that's definitely okay. And it's something that I recommend, because you don't ever want to restrict yourself too much where you're craving it so much, and then you get that ice cream and you want to eat the whole entire tub. So definitely allow yourself to eat what you're craving. Your body knows what it needs. So if you're craving a little bit of extra fat, a little bit of extra sugar, maybe, your body's low on that day and you just need it. So definitely allow yourself that once in a while, because your body's going to thank you for it. And not that you eat that whole tub. Instead, every couple of days you have a cup or a cup and a half of ice cream, right? So definitely allow for it. Yeah.
And
Dairy Queen later.
Dairy
that sounds good.
Queen.
Now, do you have any advice for people who take their dairy in the form of ice cream and put it on top of something like a slice of cake or pie?
I mean, that's
Just
fine.
curious.
Just moderation, as long as it's in moderation. And hey, at least if you're getting some apple pie, you're getting some apples. So at least you're getting that in there,
There you go. Apple pie, apple
Yeah.
That's working.
And like that's another thing is adding in some fruits when you can. If it's your dessert, like you can have cake or you can have pie or you can have ice cream, but put some, fruits on there so you get extra fiber, so it fills you up a little bit quicker, and you're getting some more nutrients in there as well. So adding more color to your plate is always gonna, unless it's sprinkles, it's gonna probably always give you a little more nutrients. Yeah.
Jelly donuts.
Yeah, that's it. That one's colorful. Next question. Anybody else question about?
I started taking that balance of nature,
Okay.
fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Because I know I don't eat enough vegetables
Good.
and enough fruit.
Good.
It's fantastic.
Good. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Fantastic. I noticed a huge difference.
That's amazing. That's so good.
Balance of nature.
You hear commercials on all the time.
Okay.
It's all natural.
So what do you get, like extra fruits and veggies, like in your meals? How does that work?
It's little capsules.
Oh, it's capsules, okay.
Capsules.
So you're probably
Yep.
getting more vitamins and nutrients that you would typically get from fruits and veggies in your capsules.
What difference?
I just felt so much better, you know, physically and mentally.
You sound like a coverage.
Well, there you go, because sometimes, we under consume like things that are good for us and we don't even recognize it. And then once you're getting all those nutrients that you should be getting from fruits and veggies, you start to actually feel how natural, like how the nutrients that could be coming from it can really affect your body. So that can kind of give you motivation to, add those more of the fruits and veggies and produce to your diet.
Brand that I do recommend that doesn't have that much sugar. Oh, too good.
Okay,
And only 2 grams of sugar.
nice.
That's it.
See, that's great.
That's
Because-
right.
And yogurt's great for you.
I had it. I'm so glad too. Even with cookies, you have to watch it
Mhm.
too. I go brand 2, Larry's and Wendy.
Okay.
I have it, and 1 gram of sugar.
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
1 gram.
And I think it's high in
That's it.
protein, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like a protein one.
yeah.
Those are good for you.
They, 15 grams cholesterol, that's not bad.
Mhm.
But we do make a brand called Keto, and the sugar level is only 2 grams.
Yeah.
That's it, and no cholesterol.
Yeah.
So I have that too. It costs a bit too. It depends where you go. You
Mhm.
know, depends where you go.
Yeah.
It's good.
That's a good one.
Because the regular one, like the Larry Lindy, is only like 12 grams of sugar.
Mhm. Yeah.
I'd rather have the one.
Yes.
Because I'm not really a sugar fan at all.
Good. Well, it always makes it easier if you're not a fan. Yeah.
Myself, or I can walk around a lot.
Yeah. Nice. And I would say, because the one that you said, I think keto, probably.
Keto,
Yeah.
K-E-T-O.
KETO, yeah, and so that's based off of like the ketogenic diet, if anybody's ever heard of that before. The high protein
Yeah.
and high fat compared to sugar, so they're very low on sugar and very low on carbs. And so that's why they keep the sugar really low. And if you ever have a snack like that, it's good, even if you're not on the keto diet, you're gonna get a lot less sugar if it ever says anything like keto on it. That's why they keep it low and keep the carbs low. But yeah, those are great snacks because typically you also get more protein. A lot of people don't get a lot of protein sometimes if they don't eat like certain foods, like if you don't eat meat, for example. But also yogurt is really, really good because you're getting a serving of dairy. And then for like Greek yogurt, for example, you can also get higher protein. And I would also say, like you said, keep an eye on the sugars because depending on the type of yogurt you choose, they sometimes add like the jellies and different kinds of fruits at the bottom that are gonna be super sugary. But if you get one that doesn't have that, they're so great for you typically, as long as they don't have all the added sugars.
Yeah, too good is good. It's bland.
It's bland,
I don't
yeah.
mind it at all.
Yeah, well, if you like it, then that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't mind it at all.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even use butter. I don't take butter anymore. I eat bread without butter.
Yeah, nice.
You know, and also tea without sugar.
Okay. Yeah, good. You have a very plain taste. I think that makes it so much easier to not have sugar. So
I
yeah,
can do what these people can't.
yeah.
You know?
Nice. And then, did you have a question over here? Do you have a question? Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, good point on yogurt because I think sometimes people forget that yogurt's such a great serving of dairy that you can have. And as long as you're getting that version that doesn't have too much sugar in there, it's going to be really good for you to get that serving of dairy. Because I know for myself, for example, I don't drink a cup of milk like I used to when I was a kid. So getting yogurt could be a really good way to just add a different kind of, snack in there. Good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. I look, if I'm ever adding like dairy to my meal, I feel like it's mostly, those breakfast meals. It's always so easy to add things like, yogurt or milk in the morning, right? Yeah, good point.
When I was in cardiac rehab, the one thing that they kept telling us is if it's in a box,
just read the ingredients very carefully, because it's easier to make it if it's not in a box. It's better for you and it's less of everything. It's less of everything. That was number one. Number two, there's a man there, and he would have to rinse his mouth with salt and water. And he asked him whether that was considered an intake of salt. Because, and they said, well, there was two different opinions. The one dietitian said yes, because some of it is absorbed into your body.
Yeah.
And the other one said no, because you spit it out.
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
I
gonna
guess
go with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I guess maybe it depends like how long it's in your mouth, if it absorbs. Yeah, because it can absorb into like your cheeks and your tongue probably. That's interesting. I never thought of that.
And they said even with fruits and vegetables, there's salt in it, there's
Mhm.
sugar in it.
Yeah.
You have to include that in your
Yeah.
daily amount.
Yeah.
And even if it says 18%, even if they add another 5% on there, it's really 23%
Oh, for
for flavoring.
oh, okay.
Because you have to allow for the natural sugars.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. I never heard that.
So whenever you read a label, add 5%.
Wow. And I would think for specifically like if you're going into it was for cardiac rehab, then like you're specifically when you're talking about like boxed things, I feel like you think of like margarine and butter. Definitely something you'd have to keep an eye
Cake
on.
mixes, oatmeal.
Yeah. So that's like a good point as well to keep an extra eye on that for sure.
It said oatmeal especially because instant oatmeal is so much higher than if you make
Mm.
regular oatmeal.
Yeah.
And, but they were pointing out different labels, how they can be very confusing because again,
Yeah. I think labels can be so confusing in themselves, just all the numbers, all the words, and just so many things going on all at once that it's really nice to figure out how to read them, you know? Get a little more. Yeah, I'm not sure, but I've never heard of that one. They have five.
this label said, sugar was 18%. You have to add 5%.
You know-
Consider it high because you've got natural sugar.
I think, because, okay, so the percent that you see on your label is for added sugars, the percentage. If you have more sugar, so I don't know what the label says on here. Let me check. So here you see that sugars says 23 grams, but it doesn't say if it's added sugar or not, so it's not gonna help me. If under that it said like 20 grams and it said like 20%, I'm just making up a number, that's probably not correct. Whatever those 3 grams are, that's gonna be a slightly more, like a higher percentage because those 3 grams are coming from natural sugars. So say they add like strawberries, like dried strawberries to your oatmeal and it's in the package, then that might add like 3 grams of natural sugar. So the percent is gonna be for added sugar on here, but there might be slightly more sugar depending how much natural sugar is in there.
So what you're saying is if we had 5%, you're safe because most of it.
It's just about
5%.
Yeah, yeah, I guess it would depend on like what they're adding to it. So if there's more ingredients that have natural sugar, like if they have strawberries, if they put honey, if they put like brown sugar or agave nectar, like anything like that, that might add a little bit sugar. But I guess that would be so different for each product and it really depends. So that's a hard one to even calculate. It's hard to even see because I don't have it on here. But
That's
that's a
why
good
they
point.
said use 5%. as
Yeah,
a-
it's just like an average. Yeah, gotcha.
Totally unrelated, but is that how you pronounce agate?
It's agave, right?
Yeah, because I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm listening to what you're saying.
I think it's agave. I
Is
think I might be wrong. That's how I've always said it. I don't know if anyone else has a different idea of how you say it.
So I want to make this clear, you need potassium in your diet, much more than sodium.
Yeah, potassium. Yeah. So
Fruits, all vegetables.
Yeah.
fruit.
yeah, and that was actually one because, like I mentioned, how the nutrients were changed over the years. That was one that they added because they took off the vitamin A and C and they added on the potassium was one of them because people weren't getting enough. So that's why they put it down there so you can get a little bit extra and know like if my nutrients and my nutrition facts label has a little bit higher potassium, maybe I can get a little bit more in than I typically do because people don't tend to. So yeah,
So I heard that, with sodium, you only need like 500, that's all.
that's very small.
Potassium is over 1,000.
Yeah, I don't even know the exact number, but definitely people don't get enough. So yeah, it's one of those ones that you can keep an eye. And like, as you're seeing these, percentages on the side, on the bottom, so for example, like vitamin A, that would be extremely good to get vitamin A in your diet for this specific thing, because you're getting 80%, you're getting almost all of the amount of vitamin A that you would need in a day for an average person in this product. So if you see potassium and it's high like that, and it's 20% or higher, then you probably need a good amount.
It's good for the eyes too, but it's a certain mineral too that's good for the eyes. Lutein, right?
What is it? Oh,
Lutein, right?
I know beta carotene is good. I'm not sure. Is it lutein good for your eyes? It might be. It might be one of them. Yeah, lutein. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Confirmed. Yeah. Nice. I wouldn't know. Cool. Anybody else have anything? Nice. All right, cool. So we're gonna do a little bit of practice. It's very quick. We're gonna practice how to read these labels. And if you have a really hard time seeing, I'll read it out for you. So which of these two boxes of pasta has more calories? So I think this one's a little bit easier to see if you can read it, but if not, on the left side, whole grain pasta, we're gonna have 180 calories in the serving, and both serving sizes are 2 ounces. And then on the right side, regular pasta is 200 calories per serving. So do you think choice A or choice B has more calories? You think that?
Yeah, I go for A.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
What do you think? B? B, yes, it would be B. So, because they have 20 more calories in the serving for 2 ounces. So, that's how you're gonna know. Does that make sense, everyone? Yeah, okay. Next one. Next up, we have fiber. So, same boxes of pasta. Now I'll read this one out because it's kind of tiny. So, on the left side, we're looking at dietary fiber. It doesn't really matter the kinds inside, that's just listing out the certain kinds of fiber that you're getting. But on the left side, we have 7 grams per serving, and on the right side, we have 3 grams per serving. So which one would you choose? Yes, the one on the left. So that was our whole grain pasta, and that just shows you that you're going to get a lot more fiber from just one serving of whole grain pasta over the white pasta, right? And you can see that the left side is giving you 25% of your daily recommended intake, and on the right side, you're only getting 11%. So that can make a big difference in the amount of fiber you get.
That's three types of fiber.
Yeah.
Dietary fiber, soluble fiber.
Insoluble, yep. And then the difference between soluble and insoluble is just if your body is able to basically break it down in a certain way. So it's just the way that your body kind of digests it. So that's what they're breaking down there. But yeah, definitely. And the dietary is just the combination of the two, I believe. Yeah.
Soluble fiber is to like reduce cholesterol.
Yeah, so usually with that, it's going to help keep the cholesterol from clogging up your arteries, because it's similar to how, so fiber is really good in general because it keeps both sugar from going into your bloodstream too quickly, but also cholesterol and like those different kinds of fats that are not so good for you. So fiber is really great. That's what we have a whole lesson on it. But similarly to how it stops your blood sugar from spiking, can also help to control any types of like clogging in your arteries from cholesterol and fats. And now next up, we have a couple of drinks. So on the left side, we have some soda. You would have no idea what kind it is. And then on the right side, we have some apple juice. So we're looking at the sodium. On the left side for the soda, the sodium is 45 milligrams in a serving, or 2%. And then on the right side, we have 30 milligrams or 1%. So which one would you go for? The apple juice. Yes, nice. Yes, the apple juice for sure, right? Nice. Cool. And now we're taking a look at the sugar. So really crazy. We're looking at the right side. We have the soda, and this is actually a very accurate label. 39 grams of added sugars, 39 grams of sugars, all of them are added. And then you're getting 78% of your daily value recommendation. On the right side, we have 28 grams of sugars, 0 of them are added sugars. And then that's 0% of your recommended daily value for added sugars. So which one would you go for? B, right? And this is just a really good way to show you. For example, what you were talking about. So there's sugar in this apple juice, and it says 0%, and it's added for your added sugars, because there's no sugar added to the apple juice, but you're getting sugar in this apple juice. You're getting 28 grams of sugar, but it's natural sugar. So that really well explains what you're talking about. I would say this is probably even a little bit more than, the 5% that you were talking about of the amount of sugar that you might even have in a day. But this is just the 10% or less that you're going for when it comes to sugars is for added sugars specifically. So those sugars like high fructose corn syrup, white sugar, because those are the ones we want to try to avoid. But there isn't really, I'm not actually exactly sure what the recommendation is for natural sugars, but just the limit of added sugars. But that's why it's not giving you a percent. It's because all of these sugars are natural. And that's what you were talking about for accounting for them. So it makes a lot of sense.
That's why they said we had 5%.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
you're accommodating what you're putting in there.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's going to be specifically important for people that have a hard time controlling their blood sugar. So like if you really do need to keep an eye on how much natural sugars you're having as well, then, they're not going to get a percentage for added here, but they have to account for that 20 grams of natural sugar as well. But yeah, so definitely I would go for that one. And actually I might want to do, if you guys are interested in added sugars and drinks, we have a whole lesson on beverages where we count out the sugar, and that might be fun. So maybe we can do that in one of our lessons coming up, because it's always interesting to see. And then finally, so we have a recipe for you, which you actually have in front of you. And if you want to try it at home, you can. These are just the ingredients, which I won't bore you with since you have them in front of you, but we can go to the next. Hopefully the link works. If not, we'll have to go to the recipe.
Is that on the next?
It's like it's on the slide, right? I don't know if you can click it. Can you click it? It's a PDF. So no, probably not. All right, then we can go to the email. I put it in the email. We were trying to send it as a PowerPoint and it wasn't working, so we have an alternate. There it is. This is the how to make the recipe that I keep.
Share it to the Zoom. This is a quick and easy JSY recipe, spiced apple and bean muffins. You'll need sugar, oil, 1 egg, pinto beans, flour, baking soda, cinnamon, diced apples, vanilla, and raisins. To begin, you'll want to preheat your oven to 375 degrees. Next, you'll need to wash, peel, and dice 2 apples. 2 medium-sized apples will give you about 2 cups, which is enough for this recipe. Make sure to cut a flat side when cutting your apple so it doesn't roll away. Cut around the core of the apple as not to include any seeds in your recipe. Cut the apple into thin slices and then dice, making everything uniform size. It is important to keep everything uniform size so that it cooks evenly. In this recipe, we have peeled the apples, but if you make these at home, you can feel free to leave the peel on for some extra fiber. Carefully mash the beans in a bowl with a potato masher, making sure to keep everything in the bowl. You can use any cooked beans that you have on hand. For this recipe, I'm using pinto beans. Add sugar and oil to a large bowl and mix. Add lightly beaten egg and then add the beans and mix. Add in the rest of the ingredients and mix until combined. Don't forget to add the vanilla. If the batter seems too thick, you can thin it out with a tablespoon or two of water or milk. Fill lined or greased cupcake tins and bake at 375 for 15 to 18 minutes. You'll know the muffins are done when you insert a knife or toothpick and it comes out clean. Remove muffins from the oven, cool, and enjoy.
Questions? I heard a question.
Yeah, so when I make things like pound cake, I normally substitute the oil for butter, and I whip the butter and sugar together to get it to this nice fluffy consistency, and it adds the light fluffiness to the cake.
Yeah, you can.
Ooh, I can do that here too, so I don't have to worry about the canola oil, but I can put real butter.
I would think so. I've never tried it with that, but I think that would still work as long as you have that source of fat.
Mhm.
I think it would work out with that.
Okay.
If it doesn't, let me know.
Well, it would ruin the healthiness of this.
I mean-
Yeah, I'm trying to find a balance of tasty and healthy,
Well,
but
Well, technically, butter, just so you know, technically butter doesn't count as a serving of dairy. In case that's what you were looking for, but neither does oil. So you're not like taking out a serving of dairy. And I mean, I think putting butter in place of the oil is not going to make a huge difference.
okay.
Oil would be maybe a slightly healthier depending on the kind of oil you choose, but I don't think that's going to make a huge, hit on the health factor of the recipe. So, but if you do try whipping it, please let me know if it works well.
Will do.
Yeah.
Salted butter.
No,
Yeah, you salted butter.
I'll just cut down the amount of salt.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was just gonna ask. the
Yeah,
same
so,
question.
we typically recommend that you have, different kinds of vegetable oils. So if you, canola and vegetable are gonna be pretty much the same, but vegetable oil is a good option, actually. There are some different kinds of nutrient, differences, but the amount of fat is gonna be relatively similar. But I can't tell you exactly right now which one's gonna be better of the two. I'm not actually sure. Which one. Olive oil is a great option. Yeah, avocado oil is a good option. Yes, those are a couple that are good. But yeah, olive oil is a great option always, I would say is a good go-to. Yeah.
Yeah, a friend of mine who's allergic to soy, she can't do the vegetables. So she
Okay.
does canola.
There you go. So yeah,
I told you that
interesting.
canola, you should use canola oil. You should use vegetable. oil.
Yeah, we recommend
Not-
vegetable
Yeah.
oil over the
Yeah.
canola oil or like olive oils.
I was using vegetable oil. I thought canola oil was better, so I switched.
Mm.
And then she said, don't use it because it's not as good for
No,
you
yeah.
as
Vegetable
vegetable.
oil is gonna be better than canola.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And as strange as this may sound, when I fry stuff, it actually comes out differently when I fry in vegetable oil versus canola oil.
There you go.
And so I find myself going back to the vegetable oil.
Oh, yeah. Well, this is better.
Yeah.
Better for you and a better option.
Great for
Yeah.
you, but-
But if you could change it a little bit, then it's
Yeah.
good, like so a little more control over it.
Mhm.
Any more questions?
Say something too. Also, I use cinnamon stuff too, and cinnamon is like anti-diabetes.
Yeah, I feel like I've heard that before. I'm not sure of the exact effects, but I think that it's good for, also it's good for inflammation, I believe. Yeah, people have said that cinnamon is helping, you know, it's one of those things that I think people like to add into like, it typically, I've heard anti-inflammation is the, as like the most primary thing, but I've never heard anti-diabetes.
Yeah, so I like cinnamon too,
Yeah.
also like take olive in the
Okay.
morning too, that's good for cholesterol and around.
Good, there you go.
And I mentioned inflammation too, is also another herb for tea.
Turmeric, yeah, that's another one I think people use for inflammation as well. Yeah.
Two cups of tea. Use less flour. I know it's to add the protein, but
Yeah, you know what?
2 cups is a lot. It seems like you're replacing something.
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure exactly what you're replacing. You are getting lots of fiber from it, so maybe it's helping to, you know, keep it together. You like, you know, like the baking powder, but I'm not too sure what exactly it'd be replacing. I guess I'd have to look into words. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe for flour, because the flour would be holding it together. Yeah. Yeah. So.
Sounds.
Hey, I mean, yeah, I can't
Wait, bring them to the bake sale.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can make them yourself as a replacement for dessert. If someone makes it, that'd be just so exciting. Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There you go.
If you do, let me know. Hey, and we're coming up on, you know, some holidays, so if anybody, you know, wants to switch out one dessert they made or like trick some people to eating some healthier stuff, maybe you want to make them muffins, so you try it out. Any other questions on the recipe? All right, and then we have one more video. We're gonna do a seated workout. That's gonna be that one. And if you want to just like give yourself some room, like the most you have to do is maybe extend your leg out. So if you want to push your chair back a little bit.
Going through some seated exercises
Another-
for older adults in the home. I will be working on exercise.
You have to do it, right? So if you're feeling any type of ache, pain, uncomfortability, feel free to sit it out or feel free to take a break because no one's forced to do any of it. So with exercise, you want to add it on slowly and do whatever your body's comfortable with. So if you feel you can do it, go for it. If not, no problem. We'll, you know, finish it up and then we can talk about it after. So do whatever you feel comfortable.
So now, did you say that if you don't feel comfortable with exercise?
You had to put that in.
No, that's her title. But I do this with like a lot of people, honestly. It's just easy one.
Exercises from head to toe, and we'll be doing about 5 to 10 reps on each side at home, and I'll be doing about 5 times on each side to show you. So we're going to start with sitting up nice and tall. We want to take a nice big breath in, breathe out, breathe in through the nose, breathe out through the mouth. Wonderful. Now we're going to look up to the ceiling, just as high as you can go. You just want to feel that little stretch in your neck. Good. And we're going to look down to our toes. Again, look up to the ceiling. Hold it there about 3 to 5 seconds. And down to your toes. Great. Now we're going to look over our shoulders. We're going to look over our shoulder. Switch sides. One more time to the first shoulder. And last time. Good. And now we'll come back to the center, and you're going to pick an ear, any ear, and you're going to put it down towards your shoulder. Again, we're just looking for a little stretch on the side of the neck. You don't have to go down to your shoulder, just a little bit, and switch. Good. And we're going to switch again. Hold. And last time. Good. And back up. Take a big deep breath in and out. Good, we're gonna move down to the shoulders. We're gonna do some shoulder rolls going back 5 times. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good, they don't have to be fast. Just work at your own pace, and we're gonna do it going forwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Wonderful. Good. We're going to do some shoulders going up and down, 2, down, 3, and 4, and 5. Good. And we're going to change. Going right and left, a little shimmy. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good, and relax. Give those shoulders a shake. Shake it out. Shake it. Don't break it. Good. Deep breath in. Breathe out. One more. Deep breath in. And out. Good. Now we're going to put our palms facing up to the ceiling, and we're going to touch our shoulders 5 times. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Beautiful. Now we're going to take our right hand and we're going to reach forward 5 and pull it back. 4. Good. 3, 2, and 1. Great. Left hand, same thing. Reach 5, 4, 3. Great. 2, and 1. Same exercise, and we're going to do our reaches up to the ceiling. So 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And again, you're working at your own pace. Perfect. Next arm. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Now we're going to bring our hands up, and we're just going to do some wrist rolls. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to invert them. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Perfect. And relax. Let's take a big deep breath in. Breathe out. One more breath in and out. Now the last exercise we're going to do for the upper body is our torso twist. So I like to put my hands up, and we're just going to do a slow twist to the right and center, left and center, right, center, left, center. Again, 3, 2, twist, last one, 1, back to the center. Good, and relax. Perfect. Deep breath in. Breathe out. Deep breath in and out. Good. Now we're going to start on our lower body. So we're just going to start with some marching. 2, 3, 4, 5. You can go as long as you want. And add the arms. March. 2, 3, 4, 5. Get that heart rate up and get your knees up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Good. Big deep breath in. Breathe out. Deep breath in and out. Good. Now we're going to work on our knees. So we're going to reach our leg up and down. 2 and down. We want to get our leg up as high as it'll go, whether it's up here or just a little bit off the floor. That's perfect. 5 and down. Left leg up and down. 2 and down. 3 and down. 4 and down. 5 and down. Good job. Great. So we're going to move all the way down to our toes. So we're just going to tap our toes. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the heels, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back and forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. We're going to raise our right leg, and we're going to do an ankle roll. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. We're just loosening up those ankles. 5, 4, other way. 3, 2, and 1. Perfect. Same thing with the alternate leg. Pick it up and circle. 2, 3, 4, 5. Change directions. 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. Feet on the ground, sitting up nice and tall. Deep breath in and out. Deep breath in and out. And that has been your exercise from head to toe.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially watching.
We will actually send it to you. I sent the link, but I'll send it again so that way if you guys want to do it at home, it's a really great way to just, be a little bit more active. But
Active.
but you can even do something like this, like say you're watching TV and the commercial's on, just tap your toes, lift your legs, move your arms around. It's more movement than just sitting there, right? So every movement is going to count. Every minute of movement is going to count. And when it comes to physical activity, actually throw that one where it's really jumping around. Yeah, a little bit further. There it is. Yeah. So when it comes to physical activity is going to be any movement that's going to get your heart rate above resting level. And believe it or not, what we did right there got our heart rate above resting level because we're moving around. So anything where you're moving, it's going to get your heart rate going a little bit faster. And for some people, that's a good amount of exercise for the day, and then you slowly add on. For some people, they're going to need more because maybe they've been doing physical activity for a longer period of time in their life. So whatever you have to do is, up to your body, and definitely listen to your body when you're doing physical activity. If anything hurts, pain, take a break or stop. But if you feel like you could do more, try a couple extra minutes or try a little bit more intense, right? For adults, the recommendation is going to be about 30 minutes, 5 days a week. So that might be Monday through Friday, for example. For kids, it's going to be 60 minutes a day, so an hour a day. You can do so many different things to get physical activity into your day. Might be one of these videos, might be going for a walk, riding your bike. I think you mentioned you ride your bike, right? Yeah. So that's a great one. And those ones are really great because they are low impact. So low impact is going to be like sitting and doing the chair exercises. You're not running and hurting your ankles, right? So if you have an ankle problem, you're not going to want to do something that's going to hurt your ankles. But going for a walk or riding your bike or doing something like that is going to be something that's going to get your heart rate up without damaging your body in any way. So, try out different things and see what works for you. Yeah, and yard work, cleaning the house. Those are also physical activity, Hey, but those will get you sweating, they'll get you sweating. So those count,
Yard work is fun, but cleaning the house.
Yeah, I mean, that's why it's, to get your heart rate up, if you're tired.
I checked out your bread label.
Good, yeah, nice. Oh, and Michelle put that one also.
Michelle, I checked out the bread
She
label.
did good. I'm proud. But when it comes to physical activity, does anyone have any questions or comments? Oh yeah, so the amount for you is really going to depend on you.
10 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, like and also the intensity. The intensity is going to be what's going to be different mostly. So, somebody can do 30 minutes of what we just did as a workout, and that can be enough for them. But for myself, I typically, do a lot of activity throughout the day. So I'm probably going to do a little bit higher intensity than what we did here today for 30 minutes or a little bit more. So it really depends on your lifestyle, your body, your age, your everything. So it really depends on the person, but the intensity is really going to be the difference for you to get there. Yeah. Good question though. Anyone else? No. And so next up, I think it was just time for questions. If you have questions in general about everything that we talked about, also the survey, but we can email that survey out because I know like the QR code stuff really annoying. But if you do want to email me, feel free to take my email. That's my name and that's my email, ACHANESKI@cfbnj.org. But also before you go, if you have any questions, but also we have water bottles that each of you can take over there. They're all the same, but then the caps are different colors and more fun. So if everybody wants to go over there and choose one to bring home. There you go, she took hers. So hers is purple and I love the color. But you could take the bottom and then choose whatever cap you want before you get going. So any questions? No? All right, great. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
I had a question,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
just for me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm at the new senior living.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you everyone for coming. I just want to
So
thank
where's
Alyssa again and mention
I
that
think
we will have another
Let
one
me,
on
do you want
December
to take my
12th.
information
So
or
mark
should I
your
take
calendars.
somebody's
Come back.
information for there?
Right before the holidays, get us together. Nice.
Say mine, okay, yeah, sure. So you want to take your my stuff?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we definitely, because we do,
Yes.
because I'm in Bergen County and I have another educator in Bergen County as well. So it might be even
Oh, that's what
harder,
you would use.
but.
Thank you, Zoom attendees.
As long as, yeah, I- we can